we are again. Ellen's out there today. Great lady. She never did anything wrong. All she did is reported a crime while being black.
In the black community, and I'll use that term loosely, Onion had his, I'm not going to say enemies, I would say maybe distractors or rivals perhaps. Tell me a little bit about Bernie Hayes.
Boy, I knew you were going to say that.
Who is also in the talk radio business.
Yeah. Bernie loves Onion to this day, and Onion always loved Bernie. Even when they did get into a giant disagreement. And that was really back at KATZ, because Bernie worked for KATZ.
Right.
And Onion got a job there because we got thrown off of WGNU. And when we did, I went to the people at 1600 and cut a heck of a deal for Onion to come in and do the morning show, and I do the afternoon show, and we create this program with all black broadcasters except me, and we called it Black Information Radio. And Onion got into a problem with Bernie because Bernie had that morning slot, and everybody agreed at the time that Onion had the advertisers and the audience, and so it would be better for the format if Onion would come in and take that position.
Well, wasn't a whole lot of where Bernie's show wasn't drawing flies. Onion always had been popular wherever he went, and it was going to be a ratings deal.
Well, that's exactly right. And, or you may not know, but Bernie brought Onion into the business in the first place. Did you know that?
I did not.
Yeah. So what happened is that Bernie had a talk show on WGNU, and Onion was listening to the show, and he would call in on the show. And eventually, Onion became the star at WGNU, and Bernie, couldn't really get the following. Now, the truth is, Bernie is a phenomenal guy and a great journalist, but he wasn't the entertainer that Onion was. Onion was an entertainer.
He absolutely was.
And Bernie was a journalist, a great journalist. Onion respected Bernie, and Onion said, look, Bernie, I'm going to come in, I'll get this spot in the morning, but you'll come on with me. We'll do it together. You don't have to lose a step. Bernie wouldn't do it.
He didn't want to play second fiddle to this guy who used to call in on his talk show.
He did not. And many in the community were angry with Onion for going against Bernie. And really, Onion, he didn't even want to do this that way, but he was sort of stuck with it because otherwise he wasn't going to broadcast. And this program was not going to make it without Onion at the front of the program. It was, exactly. Bernie was never going to bring in that audience. And the point is that by working together, Onion felt like they would both win. And I can tell you this, there were some people at the time who were plenty angry with me because they came to the conclusion, which was incorrect, that I had put all this deal together to screw Bernie, and that the white man was doing this.
So you were the white devil.
So I was in, but Onion was, no good for it either. I mean, they were angry with both of us.
Sure.
The funny thing about this is, and I'd say 20 years later, because that was 95, and by 2015, many of the people who were angry with me and Onion, after Onion was now really in bad shape with Alzheimer's and so forth, they talked to me, and I won't name names, but they talked to me and they said, Kasen, we were so angry with you, but you have stuck with Onion Horton for 20 years since then. And even when he's gotten sick and everything else, you've still been with him and together. And they said, we're just going to say, we're sorry about all that stuff because you have proven that was not just some kind of a money grab to put Onion into that position. But how do you know, and how do you trust a white guy? And frankly, I wouldn't trust a white guy if I were black. I wouldn't trust him at all. And I've said for years, from the very beginning, that it's really a lot like Jewish people, which I'm Jewish, and black people, and German people. You may like Germans, and I have good German friends, but there's a lack of trust for Germans among Jews for a very obvious reason.
Just based on history.
The history.
Sure.
And that is exactly where black people are in the United States. And that's why they loved Onion Horton, because Onion Horton would kick a white guy in 2 seconds every morning on the way to work. And again, only if they deserved it. But for those that deserved it, he would. Because you mentioned also like Jim Shrewsbury. Onion liked Jim Shrewsbury. He liked him a lot. Very good friends.
However.
Yeah, well, there were some issues over, who was going to get elected in that election. But I can tell you that there were very good personal relationships between Onion and Jim Shrewsbury. That's a fact. I mean, Onion did not dislike Jim Shrewsbury. He wanted the black guy to be elected, but he was very friendly to Jim Shrewsbury. And when you want to do this, we can talk about his friendship with Jamie Allman, another white guy who is my partner now. And Onion loved Jamie Allman, although he kicked Jamie Allman's butt from here to the moon.
Because they were diametrically opposed politically.
Politically.
Sure.
Yeah. We did a show when we had the TV show. I don't know if you remember the TV show we had. Did you ever see that?
On 30?
KDHX?
No, I did not.
Okay, so that was me and Onion. We had that show.
Okay.
And that show was on from, I'd say, about 02 to 07, or about 07.
Okay.
Okay, so it was about 5 years. And again, mostly a black viewership. And we would invite everybody on the air. We had lots of people. And that show was me and Onion and Tim Person, if you remember Tim Person.
Was a politician of some sort?
Yeah, Tim was the chief of staff for Freeman Bosley.
Okay, yep, okay.
And Freeman was part of that show from time to time. Freeman Sr. was often part of that show. And then a buddy of mine named Jim Berger, a white guy, who also did that show. And I can tell you that we brought in all these people from all over politics, Missouri politics, local, everything. And when they would come on the air, as in the case of Jamie Allman, I mean, Onion would be really tough. And he would not back down for a minute. And so in the first show that we did with Allman, Onion said, look, either answer my question or get out of here. And actually Jamie answered the question. And from then on, they were best buddies. And that day we walked out of the studio and they were arm in arm. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And Onion would always say to me, hey, can you get Jamie this week?
Well, because he was good radio. You had the banter. And you've been in this business for a long, long time. And if you have two people who agree with one another across from the microphone, that's not good radio.
Terrible.
Because one says something, the other one agrees.
Yeah, that's not going to fly.
It's best if you have the banter, you have the back and forth, and I could see where Onion and Jamie would be perfect.
Yeah, it's very good.
You and Jamie. My buddy James Grayfalcon used to be on with Jamie once upon a time when he was at the other station. When you have people who are diametrically opposed but still have a relationship and respect one another, that's the best type of radio to me.
Yeah. And I can tell you that there are a lot of people that get very upset with Jamie over putting me on the air. And Jamie can say things about people like me that are very tough. And then we get on the air and we kick each other's butt very hard.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get off the air, and we've always been and maintained, close friendship, 20 years. And then people will say, why do you let Kasen on the air? And
doesn't Jamie call you everybody's favorite liberal?
Something
along those lines?
Sometimes he does. Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
There have been plenty of guys like Jamie who have said that I'm their favorite communist. Yeah. So, which is also so funny because, as you pointed out, back when we started this conversation, this whole thing about radical left, and I say I am radical left, and I am. There's no question about that. But Onion and I would have never abided by Maxine Waters yelling at people in a restaurant. I mean, that's just not our way. Certainly, if you get in front of a microphone, then everything's fair game.
Well, that's different because that's passive.
That's totally different. Mm-hmm. But you're going to bother somebody that's eating dinner?
Yeah.
Why?
What's the matter?
Why would you do that? What's the purpose?
Well, and as we talked off the air, that's the biggest problem in this country right now, is if people are not in lockstep with one another on what they believe, they can't have a civil conversation. And that has the potential to ruin the country, because this country has always been based on diversity, on many different types of people, on many different beliefs. We are truly the only country. I mean, do we have problems in this country with race and religion and people being different? Sure. But if you consider, there's no country that has the diversity this country does. And just the fact that we're where we are based on how many different people we have is amazing.
Yeah, and if this doesn't speak to what you're talking about, I don't know what does. Onion and I had on two guys who claimed to be the head of the Ku Klux Klan in Missouri and Illinois.
Really?
And one of them was a guy named Michael Cuffley. And Michael, last I heard, was in jail, which is exactly where he belonged. But I can tell you that, we didn't fight with Cuffley. Cuffley called us every kind of Jew and N-word and that you can imagine, but he did it with a smile. And we once brought them into the studio to come on the air with us.
Okay.
And we met them downstairs, and they pulled up in a car with a muffler hanging off the car on the ground, and they didn't have any teeth in their head. And here we were with, the Ku Klux Klan, whatever that is, in Missouri. They came on the air. They said all their crazy things. And then we walked downstairs and said goodbye to them. And everybody was very nice. And as they were driving away with the muffler hanging on the ground, Onion turned to me and said, I never in a million years thought I would ever turn to you and say that I feel sorry for the Ku Klux Klan. He said, but man, these people are such a mess. He says, I feel sorry for this guy. He's horrible. What a horrible way to live, so.
Well, that's the way many people who are divisive believe. They look in the mirror and the person they're looking at totally sucks. And the only way they can raise themselves up is to try to lower others beneath them. Not to raise themselves up, which would be the logical way. Not to get a set of dentures and maybe tie the muffler up on your car, but just to call everybody else every divisive, racist word you can. And yeah, I'm horrible. I suck, but you suck worse, so I'm not the bottom of the barrel. For some reason, that's how some people attempt to identify with greatness.
Yeah. Onion had a great story that he would tell about how the white man rules the world. Do you know that story?
No, please tell us.
Such a good story. Anyway, Onion had a grandson, a great-grandson, and his name is Dion. Mm-hmm. And Dion was a little kid, under 10. And Onion told Dion, which Onion would always say on the air, that he told all his children the truth about white people so that they would never be taken by surprise when a white guy would try to do bad things. So he would tell all his family that white people rule the world and they're very bad. Okay. And you need to understand that. And so they're walking down the street and Dion says, Grandpa,